Good evening, everyone. This is Financial Literacy 101. And this evening, I will be on with Satori, who specializes in Legalese, and she's going to be here to assist you and help you through some very difficult times, dealing with your credit, dealing with job harassment. We're talking about the jab. So I think this is very important information that you guys need to get your pen and paper out so you can learn how to protect yourself and understand that your rights are under the law. Good evening, Satori. How you doing, sister?
Wholeness, how are you? I'm amazing.
I'm doing excellent. So let's just jump right into the conversation. I know your time is money and money is time. So when it comes to, let's start off in a light sense of the word. When people are being harassed because of the government mandate that essentially has been trickled down from the federal government, aka Joe Biden, and essentially encouraging and mandating by policies that workers under the federal government, as well as state and as well as private, should encourage, coerce, pressure, and of course, the key word, mandate their employers to get the jab. And if they don't get the jab, they are being threatened, they are being pressured to being laid off and or quit. And I think the most important thing is, what are some of the things that the employees can do to protect themselves?
Oh well, they can ask them for liability, that is stating that if anything is harmed on me or I lose my life due to me taking this risk, you assume the liability. Therefore, the fee that I put down, when you're coming into all of this, you're realizing who you are and in your control and in your power. You have to stand on your square. You have to say who you are and present that as such. And if somebody's going to request you of doing something, they have to first show the law that states that it's a law for you to have to do it, not a mandate. A mandate is just a request. That's just like you going inside of your children's room and leaving a request that they clean up their room or they make their bed. That doesn't mean that they're going to do it. That's just a request. So you opting into doing it is you consenting to whatever it is that they're telling you to opt into. But in realizing that you have religious exemptions as well as medical exemptions. If you have any type of medical illness that actually interferes with your breathing or anything such as that, you have the capability to get that as a medical exemption. Like, it's many different ways around this. My apologies. Like I said, I was in the car with my family.
No problem.
But yeah, those are two ways of going around it. A legal exemption. Assumption of liability. Excuse me, I got a lot going on. An assumption of liability will put someone at fault, because right now Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and all of the companies who are administering these vaccinations are actually not taking responsibility for them. So no one can actually sue if their family has died or has gotten any type of medical issue or ailment from actually taking the vaccine. They can't sue them. So if somebody needs to be liable for that assumption in order for that to be taking place.
Okay. Now, I know that supposedly that the Pfizer jab, quote unquote, has been approved by the FDA. So if that's the case, can they be sued because it is approved by the federal government?
Well, the strand has been approved. The actual vaccination itself has not been approved. You have to read the fine print. They use certain they focus on certain wording so that it can make you fearful, because their whole tactic is to make you believe that they have some type of power over you, when all we're doing is consenting to everything that they say. They can't do anything without your consent. So if you believe in it and you move towards it, you have consented.
Now, what if they fire me from my job because I have not taken the jab?
They can't do that. That's against the law. And that's a breach of contract, because nothing in your contract stated that you had to, that they can make any changes in the middle of your contract.
Now, there's a lot of at will states that basically if you sneeze wrong on a job, supposedly they can fire you. You're saying still under a wrongful termination lawsuit that I can actually sue them?
Yes,
Even
under
with that?
tort law. Under tort law, every state has a tort law. Check to see if your job has any tort lawsuits, and then it'll let you know how many times they've breached contracts. It's easy to
Can
find
you
these type of things.
can you expound on tort law a little bit better for us so we can understand?
See, the thing, I have a lot going on. To expound on tort law is a little deep. I would advise everybody to just look up the tort laws for their state, because every state is different. So even if I tell you about what I've experienced in my state, it wouldn't be the same in Texas. It wouldn't be the same in Alabama. Each state is based around its own restrictions, and they make up their own rules and regulations. That's why we have commonwealth states. It's based on the people, and based on how the government is set up in that state. So if I tell you about what I know about what's in my state, it won't stand for everyone else, because every state is different.
So you have to basically look up tort law to see the litigations that have been sued
It's,
against your particular organization,
or
even though it's an at will state and job.
That's why you have to look for the tort laws and the tort lawsuits in your state, because every state is different.
Okay. Now, you were speaking about an assumption of liability when your organization mandates you to take the jab. It's against the law, essentially. And I think that we understand that mandate is not a law, but what is making it illegal for them to fire you if it's mandated through the government itself, whether it be federal or state?
You have to realize that the government is totally different. It's totally separate from your corporation. Your organization that you work for are just businesses registered under the corporation, which is the United States of America Incorporated.
Exactly.
So you have to, once you comprehend that, then you'll be able to use USC codes to validate your claims. And a lot of these people they have false information and deceptive forms that they send to you. That is against Title 15 USC codes. That's a violation of your consumer rights, because you're the original creditor. So anybody putting debt on you or putting you in a position where they're over you, they're already violating your human rights and your constitutional rights.
So you spoke about Title 15, commerce and trade, and
Yes.
there's some rights that we have under that. And I believe was it Title 15, Section U.S. Code 1602?
That's the definitions of that
Oh,
title.
the definitions of construction. Okay.
Yeah.
So you would basically have to break down the whole Title 15 to understand what's going on and how to use it for your benefit.
No, you would just have to see what actually your situation is, and then look up the title that is associated with that, because there's many different titles for many different reasons. Like the debt that's owed, the United States of America tells us every day that there are trillions of dollars in debt. Title 31, U.S. Code 3123 actually tells you that all obligations of debt is the United States of America's obligation. So you don't owe any debt. They're just
Whoa.
their debt on you.
Okay. Just for us slow people out, because you said that very eloquently and fast. Can you repeat that again about the debt? I mean, hold on. Let me get my pen and paper out. Look, I'm telling everybody else to get their pen and paper. It's about time I get my goddamn pen and paper out. Go ahead, sister. I'm sorry.
If you want to, you can look it up on your computer at the same time that we're actually discussing this. But it's
Okay.
US.
I'm sorry. Title what?
Title 31.
Uh-huh.
USC 3123. It actually states that all the debt is the United States of America's obligation. That's
wow.
what it's stealing from. That's how they know that they're trillions of dollars in debt, because all of the debt that's in America is on them. But yet they're having the Americans pay the debt when we're the original creditors. Because without us desiring to get a house, desiring to get a car, desiring to get those Louis Vuitton shoes, and going out and being a consumer to purchase these things, money doesn't move.
So it says here that the payment of obligation and interest on the public debt, the faith of the United States government is pledged to pay in legal tender principal and interest on the obligations of the government issue under this chapter. And you're basically saying that we are the creditors and they are the debtors, but they somehow flipped it and coerced and tricked us that we are the debtors and they are the creditors. Is that correct?
Yes, by telling you payments and interest. They use those words to make you then flip into being a borrower when you're the original creditor.
So you know what's confusing about this? Why isn't that the majority of the public don't know this information?
We're too busy trying to get to the bag.
We're too busy trying to get to the bag.
Yeah, that we don't know that we are the bag.
Because it says here that Title 31, Money and Finance, Subtitle 3, Financial Management, and it goes into public debt. But see, there's a lot of people out there, Satori, that essentially are in a great amounts of debt, whether it be student debt, car debt, house debt. Their credit scores are being affected. They're essentially living on beans and rice because they're trying to pay off their debt. And you're basically saying that they essentially don't have to need to pay off their debt. They can just charge it off essentially. How is that so, and how can they do that?
Instead of going to credit repair agencies and having them send out dispute letters and 609 letters, which 609 letters actually is against the law, which is why most of that stuff doesn't come off your credit report. You have to put these people in violation. You have to reach out to bureaus, and I mean, it's only two bureaus. It's the Federal Bureau of Investigation, which is the FBI, and then you have the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, which is the bureau to protect your consumer rights. And if you let them know that someone is violating your human and consumer rights as a creditor to exchange and barter within the system, then the CFBP will put them in violation and erase those things from your credit report. I tell people all the time, if you have any inquiries or any debt that's listed on your credit report, you have money that's waiting on you. You're not in the debt that you think you are. That's
Wait a minute, repeat that one more time. Repeat that one more time. If you have any debt,
if you have any debt, if you have any agencies reporting student loans, third-party creditors, and third-party creditors actually is against the law. Title 15 U.S. Code 1692G, with the Fair Credit Act. But if you have anything listed on your credit report that is negatively impacting you, they are in violation of a lot of U.S. codes. And if you put them in violation of these codes, you get up to $1,000 per violation. Just by a debt collector buying your debt from the original person that you had a contract with, you can put them in 5 different violations. That's $5,000 just from them buying a $2 debt that you owe $300 on.
Okay. Let me put this into perspective. For the viewers who are just joining, I'm speaking with Satori, who essentially, which I consider an expert in legalese, that she has a wealth of knowledge that she's teaching us here. And you should have pen and paper, because believe me, I don't know anybody who's not in debt. I mean, I know millionaires who are in debt, and the information she's given us is right from U.S. title codes and laws that essentially a lot of us are not aware of because we're so busy, as she says, chasing the bag, which is absolutely correct, and we're not understanding the law. So let me ask you this. Let me build a scenario, Satori. Let me see if you can help us out with this. I buy a home. I go out, search for a home. I buy a home. I obtain a loan from the bank. The bank then somehow magically sends hundreds of thousands of dollars to the people who sold me the home, whatever entity it may be. And now I owe the bank upwards of $300,000 to $400,000 with interest, of course. Now, are you telling me that I don't have to pay my mortgage and I can still keep the home, or is it something that I'm missing?
The wording that you're using is very misleading, but That's
No,
all
no,
I'm.
please, by all means, clean it up
Uh,
and help me out, please.
well, when you go to get a mortgage from the bank can't produce a loan because there is no such thing as a loan when it comes to the finance part of law. Um, so they can only produce a promissory note. And if you were to go,
I
if you
never got a promissory note.
I know you didn't. You're not going to get one because they didn't. They never gave you any money. No money ever exchanged anything. So that's how you would get them with Title 12, U.S. Code 1431, which actually requests that the bank, the finance company that finances any obligation of property with you, the consumer slash creditor, they have to produce a promissory note of the original exchange of currency. That means the bank would have to produce the promissory note that shows that who they got the money from and where the money came from that they claim that they paid for you on your behalf for your home, which now you owe interest and monthly payments on. And they can't produce that because it doesn't exist because it's all a fraud.
Okay, just don't look at my face right now. It hurts. I have like muscle cramps in my forehead. But okay, so if they supposed to provide me with a promissory note and I didn't receive one, then I guess my question would be, how did the people on the other end supposedly receive funds from the bank to say that the house has been paid off on their part and now your sole financial obligations is to the bank?
By pushing numbers. That's all they did is type some numbers on the screen and pushed it to your side and pushed it to the other people's side. It never came from the bank. It only processed through the computer.
I almost feel like now I see why people sought after you and they build consultation. So very quickly, family, she's given a lot of information, and I want to take a minute out here to show you her website. It's called Divine Alignment. Okay, divinealignment.org. And she has a lot of information on here that you guys can go and book a session with her. Here's a said the time is now where you can send her an email, request her consultation, as well as some maybe additional questions you may have. Okay. Now I will say this: her time is money because she put in a lot of time and studying and effort to obtain this knowledge. Just like anything else, it will cost you a little bit of money, but in the end, it's worth it. Because Satori, can you just kind of give me a scenario that you help somebody maybe with their credit, maybe with their house or their car, and they were dealing in bad debt or even student loan?
I
Can
have
you can you
My latest person was someone that had student loans with Nelnet. She had over $40,000 in student loans, and they've been on her credit for like 12 years, never went anywhere. Up and down in deferments, and her making payments and going into deferment, and then going and up and down basically. And she was like, that's the only thing I have on my credit report. So I told her about putting certain violations within a affidavit of truth and a dispute letter that she sent off to Nelnet. And I'll say within maybe 2 weeks, she reached back out to me, and she told me that they had sent her a letter telling her that they were removing them, as well as I had her reach out to the CFPB, which is the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, and I told her to let them know why you what was your purpose for going to school, what was the whole reason for you going to school, and how being in student debt has put you in a certain bind. And then these student loans staying on your credit report is stopping you or hindering you from getting a home that you always wanted, buying the car that you wanted. It's stopping you from getting the jobs that you actually went to school to try to get, because it's impacting your credit score. So it's not allowing you to be on that level of expertise that you originally thought you were going to be on by receiving that degree. And tell them how much hardship and distress and stress and heartache and it's put you through and messed up your marriage. Like, you want to make them know that you're a real living person, and then let them know all the US codes that they're violating by doing these things to you, and then let them know what you want to be done, like financial relief or monetary relief. And I promise you, the CFBP is going to make that happen for you. Those student loans will be erased. Every dollar that they claim that you owed will be returned back to you, plus any payments that you've made. That's how it works.
Let's kind of dig into student loans, right? I don't, thank God I don't have any, but I know there's a lot of people who are probably watching or will watch later that have thousands of dollars. Now, quite frankly, I know a buddy, he went to Penn State. He has $70,000 in student loans.
Wow.
And I guess where people are willing to, trying to find out is, if I go out and ask another entity for money, right, in good faith, and somehow they allow me to go to school with the money that they supposedly had paid the financial institution, I guess there's a moral and ethical dilemma that they may have within their mind because of what they've been systematically taught throughout the course of time.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you're saying it's illegal by law of this country, correct?
Everything they're doing is illegal. You just got to know the codes to put them in violation. They don't. The thing is, they want you to find out these things because they're tired of holding up this game. They're tired of playing this game, which is why they're trying to make people think that they can force you to take vaccines because they're hoping you'd wake up and take responsibility for your life. That's why they're trying to do things to your children because they're hoping that you take responsibility for your own seeds. Like the government is tired. They don't have the means to do what they've been doing and keeping up this charades. They don't have it. It's falling. So they're doing everything they can to manipulate you. And, Babylon is going to take those who she take to hell with her, who chooses to join her. But those who waking up and really realizing what's taking place is getting their remedy. We're not looking for reparations. We're going after them.
Good evening, Ali, and good evening, Jermaine Anderson. Now, Lynn Words here posed a statement, Satori, and he says the value of money comes from your credit. You signed the promissory note, and it has cash value upon deposit. He states that the GAAP means the bank doesn't do anything except double entry accounting.
Yeah, that's why your name is the only name on your mortgage. That's why your name is the only name on the car type, the car payment that you sign. That's why you're the only signer at your job. When they send you those documents, e-docu, you sign them e-docu. They don't sign. You agree to the terms. They never agreed with you because it has to be a person. A contract can only be created between a person and a person. But in law, a person can also mean an organization. But when it comes down to someone infringing on your human rights, a person has to be a living entity. It has to be a natural being. Unless or else it's just a commercial crime, which means all crimes can be paid off and discharged. You don't have to go to jail to pay your debt to society. You can go on apmex.com, get a silver certificate, the one that has the eagle on the back with the stars, and you can scan that and pay that for all of your debt. I just gave everybody a good nugget right there.
Indeed, you did. What are some of the titles that people can reference to learn information about that their debt contract has to be between a living person versus a living person instead of just you being the sole person on the contracts of your home? Because I know a lot of times people are essentially drowning in debt, right? Whether it be from their car, their house, and school debt. Those are the three types of major debts. And a lot of people are even struggling to do anything financially because their credit scores are so low. They have a lot of inquiries on their credit. They have a lot of their debt to income ratio is low, and they're trying to figure out ways how to remove things from their credit report so their credit score raises and things of that nature. And I guess essentially people will want to know where to reference before they can read. And of course, if me personally, there's some things under the title codes that I understand. There's some things that I don't understand, which I will reach out to you, book a consultation, book a session, and then use your additional help, because there were some letters that you named in there. Do you provide those letters in your session to your clients?
Yes, it's a personalized session. So It's based on whatever situation you're dealing with. We can go over what documentation I'm able to assist you with creating a template for you to fill in.
Okay. And you have helped people essentially with their loans with homes, cars, student debt, etc.
Yes.
Okay. Now, again, I'm going to show you Satori's website here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, this is her website. And then if you come up to the top, you can book online. You go to the top left here, book online. And it says consultation right here, book now. So I had to show everybody that. And yes, for some of you, I'm going to tell you right now, this is not going to be cheap because it's worth it. In my opinion, this is very cheap for the amount that you've seen. And if you're not willing to come out of pocket to save yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars, then you're not the right person for it anyway, because essentially you have to have a great head on your shoulders to understand what the government has been doing to the people has been illegal for a very long time. We don't understand, a lot of us don't understand that the United States is a corporation within a corporation that essentially, from my research, have been controlled by the Vatican and other entities that's not even physically located in the U.S. So what are some titles that you believe that people should go out and research dealing with certain financial obligations that they may have to institutions and not people?
Title 12 when it comes to mortgages and banks and financing. Title 15 when it comes to dealing in commerces. Title 18, Title 31.
So Title 12, Title 15, Title 18, and Title 31.
Those are the main.
Now, I looked up a definition of legalese. And this is a term that, believe it or not, Satori, there's a lot of people who don't understand this term legalese. And it says the formal and technical language of legal documents that is often hard to understand, right? When people are reading anything that's associated with the law, it's very hard to understand it. Some of it is in Latin. So this is a more personal question. How did you go about really deciphering what all of this legal information actually means, and not only understanding what does it mean, but how can you use it to your benefit? Did you go through something that made you dig inside the books, or is this something that was more so a hobby, or something that you started off like, hey, I'm good in this, so I want to start a business? Like, how did you get involved with this? I know for me, getting into finance, I was just broke all my life, and I was like, I don't want to be broke no more. I grew up poor. I grew up in a group home. So we know in schools they don't teach anything about law or finance. So for me, being homeless before with my mom and going through a lot of financial hardships, and this is a part of finance that I don't know when it comes to the law. So I guess I'm just curious, and I'm pretty sure the viewers are curious. How did you get into this to learn all of these laws and actually understand what it means and how to apply it?
I started really getting into it around 2009 when I came across
2009.
a few Moors, and they tried to recruit me into the Moorish Science Temple.
They try to convert you, sister.
They tried to get me. But
Okay.
after reading the Circle 7 and learning their ways and their documentation, I ended up coming across some books called the Redemption series, which is 1 through 5, and I ended up purchasing those books. And then I was like, well, I don't need you Moors, I know the books. So when I got those books, I started to read them, and I started to comprehend what all of these documents that were circulating around for the United States corporation. And then when I started to realize that certain things that I learned in Oxford Dictionary as well as Webster Dictionary did not mean the same thing in law through Black's Law Dictionary, as well as I ended up purchasing a few American Jurisprudence books, very expensive books, and that took me on a whole whirlwind, and I started to learn a new way of seeing the world, and that also tapped into the spirituality, because words are a frequency, And the English language is a sorcery language. So if you don't know what you're saying, you can cast a spell on yourself or someone else. And when I started to tap into that, I started to speak differently. I started to move differently. And in me doing that, it was easier for my documentation to work with me claiming my nationality and setting my status corrected and doing these other things because I knew the lingo. I knew how to trap the person that I was speaking to with my words by making them hear what I wanted them to hear so that I get the result that I desired.
No, I know a lot of people when it comes to speaking about spirituality. I know whether it be Generation X, but especially millennials. Millennials are getting away from religion. I know religion is different than spirituality, but hopefully they understand that there's energy within the words you speak and how to use it appropriately, especially dealing in this particular corporation, which kind of makes me think that everything, and I've said this on my channel 1,000 times, that everything leads back to money.
Yes.
And a lot of us don't understand what money is. Now, I've been speaking with Satori now for about a month on her Clubhouse, her and Arthur Jones, which you guys seen him on his channel as well. We're speaking about the law and how it coincides with money. And she stated this earlier, and we talked about this in depth before. Going over to American Precious Metal Exchange, where I've told you guys to go, where I go and buy my silver. And I know a lot of times people are looking at the precious metal. If you look at them at the top, we have gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. But can you expound on how that silver should essentially be bought over gold, platinum, and palladium as well?
Yes, because silver is the only currency that you can discharge a debt with. You can take one single walking liberty as long as it has the eagle on the back with the 13 stars. You can take one walking liberty and discharge anything because it's real currency. It's the only real currency. Gold is considered as valuable, but the energy that silver holds makes it a more dominating metal in a sense, and
Okay.
it's more valuable. So gold may be seen as being valuable, but silver can be used to conduct energy on another level.
So do you essentially teach people how to use a silver certificate to essentially like cover car insurance or cover their mortgage or cover their car?
Yes, because nowhere in
Okay.
the law does it states that you have to have insurance. It says you have to have a financial responsibility.
Mm. So you don't essentially have to pay for insurance, but if you notice, take for instance, you have a car note and you're paying the bank, whatever financial institution, money each and every month, and they require you to have insurance on that car. And if you don't, they send you a letter, they give you a call, say, hey, you need to insure this car, or they essentially repossess the car. Why is it that, I'm not going to ask you why the information is not public. We already know everything is fraudulent. But booking a session with you, you can essentially help people with the right documents in order to break down things in order to cover their insurance with a silver certificate.
Yes, and you don't have to correct your status to do that. It's in the law. Everything is in the
Wait a
law.
minute, whoa. Correct your status. Break that. What do you mean correct your status?
Meaning, because I hear a lot of people saying you have to correct your status to be able to get these opportunities or do these certain actions when that is false. Correcting your status is just knowing who you are now that you corrected it. You say now you are no longer U.S. citizens. You've corrected it. They can't go by anybody that you were. They have to go by who you are and who you're presenting in front of them. That's why judges like to trip you up in court, because if they can get you to say that you are at this present moment that all caps name, then you get all of the liabilities.
I just want to ponder on that for a second. No, it just makes me think that if, take for instance another scenario, I'm driving, and I'm going to say driving because again I'm using key terms here because I know it's going to spark a red hair with you.
When
I'm
you're traveling.
driving. I knew he was going to say traveling, but I'm driving down the freeway or highway or interstate, and I get put over by a policeman, and the policeman, he puts on his emergency lights, woo, 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 and he pulls me over, and he stops and cites me for speeding. What are some of the things that, like, first and foremost, we always call police officers.
Mhm.
One, two, they're using their police lights. Three, they're citing us and giving us a ticket for speeding. Now, what are some of the things that we can do to protect ourselves from, one, paying a fine, and then two, the exact verbiage you were talking about, not driving but versus traveling? Can you break that down a little bit more, please?
Yes. Um, to move across one place at one time at another time and be from A to B, you are considered as traveling because this is time and space. They came up with those words driving to put certain liberties on you, certain restrictions on your person. So if you identify with their words, you identify with their jurisdiction. Therefore, you're giving them the rights to do as they please because you are considered to be under their jurisdiction. So whenever any so-called official, or paddy wagoner, police officer, which is a policy enforcer, that's all they do is enforce law, enforce policies, because they don't enforce the law. Because in doing so, they lose their job. Um, but if a police officer comes behind you and he actually has his blue and red lights on, he is already in violation. For one, the blue lights
In
means
in any state?
any state.
Okay.
This is constitutional law. With them having those blue and red lights on, that's stating that there is an emergency and that there is an injured party. If you haven't hit anybody or there's no accident or anything like that, there's no reason for those lights to come on. So for me running a red light or speeding past a stop sign, I didn't injure anybody. So what you first need to ask the officer, I know some people might be afraid that the police might choke them out or pull them out their car, but those are only police officers that see the arrogance in you, and they feel challenged. But if you challenge them intellectually, you'll teach them something. I've gotten that across a few racist white cops around my area, where they seemed as though they wanted confrontation, but I know who I am and I stay present and I'm always acting according. So no one can get me off of my square. You can't get me upset because I know the power that I have. So either you're going to meet me where I am in my knownness, or you're going to continue to violate me and run up this tab. Um, but by them stating that there was no emergency, there was no injured party, that's two violations. Not only that, there's nothing that says that you can't run a red light. There's no law that state you can't run. I'm not saying to go out and run a red light, but I'm stating that in the true stance of the Constitution, road signs and road signatures was never listed. Those are statutes, policies, and other things that they created to stack up on the fees and the fines that they could give to the public to keep them in debt. So that they're working for the system to make sure that you keep the central debt down for the United States corporation. Your taxes is to keep down the debt. You paying into Social Security is keeping down the debt. They get trillions of dollars a day or every Friday. They get trillions of dollars from people's paychecks. But yet certain people in Social Security disability, they only get $200 a month or $1,000 a month. And they get trillions of dollars a day. Like every Friday, every day that somebody's account gets processed, they get trillions of dollars every day. The United States is not in debt. I promise you that. They have too many big boys on their side to make sure things go right so that they get out the money that they put in. So trust me, they're not in debt. This is an illusion just to keep the public at bay. They don't want to introduce us to the new technologies that they have, which are way beyond the iPhone and way beyond AI dogs. But yeah, it's all a game to keep you confused in who you are, so you never learn the true power that you have and your true purpose of coming into this dimension. They want you to think that you were meant to be whatever you desired to be when you grew up: a firefighter, a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor. You're greater than that. Those are just titles that are depicted by people who know how to do certain things within the community. No different than a shaman or a folklore or the medicine man or anybody else that is a part of a tribe. That's all that. You just got to comprehend the three levels that they're on. Is deeper than the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. There's a reason why they have the Bible as the book, the religion for the United States, and all of their laws are
Mm.
constructed around the Bible, because the Vatican is their religious assembly.
Uh-oh. Have you ever sued anybody?
Oh, I sue a lot of people. I sue a lot of people.
Well,
Don't
let
I,
me make it more
I,
transparent.
I'm good with these words. Like my court documents are like poetry. I will put you in the no,
Well, let me
like
ask you this. Have you ever sued a police officer?
I didn't sue him, but I did put a lien on his bond. But
A lien
I
on his bond. What does
mhm.
that mean? Well, I mean, as far as the regular public knows, we get pulled over. We're calling a policeman a police officer,
Don't
and
do,
you saying they have a bond.
never call him an officer. He has to prove that he's an officer. And anybody that's pulling you over and they're not at least a special a
A
sergeant,
sergeant.
arrest
Mhm.
you. It's against the law for them to touch you. So look at their badge. Pay attention to the signatives on their uniform. Pay attention to that, because if they're not a sergeant, they don't even have the right to arrest you. I wish a petty officer or a little specialist would.
Private.
I will mess him up for the rest of his life and his family. I will put a lien on his 401k. I put a lien on his kids.
But every police, let's just say this for the sake of argument, for everyone who've ever been pulled over, policeman, whatever, they have cited us with tickets because of improper signaling, changing lanes without signaling, improper turn, running a red light, running through a stop sign, not completely stopping at a stop sign. You're saying that if they're not a sergeant and above or have the correct insignias in their badge, then they don't supposedly essentially arrest us or cite us in any form of matter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I guess again, how will people go about combating that and using, again, not our emotions, not our arrogance, not our ignorance, but actually using the law to protect us?
Ask them for act. You have to act according. An officer is pulling you over. That means he wants to conduct business with you. This is a business transaction. Either he's going to give you a ticket, which is him doing a business exchange through a contract with you. Like, you have to know who you are. That's why I emphasize that all the time on my podcast and Clubhouse. Anytime I have an appointment with someone, you have to know who you are, because if you don't, you're going to break and fold and you're going to be a slave again, and you're going to bend to the master. But if you know who you are, you know how to conduct that business that you having with him, because every conversation you have with someone is you exchanging energy with them, or them taking energy from you. But you have to see and tell the difference. And when you talking to that officer, ask him for his bond number, his business card. An officer is supposed to always supply you with his business card and his bond number, because he's doing business transactions with you by giving you a ticket. A ticket is like a receipt.
Hmm. I guess the question is, do we have to pay that receipt?
No, you don't even sign your signature. You just put under duress on it. You sign it as under duress.
Under duress.
Yes. And I bet you once it go in the system and he take that back to the county and it goes in, the clerk of court she's automatically gonna dismiss that.
Now, I want to bring something that we spoke about before to the public, because I think it's very interesting,
Mhm.
because you were basically I recall you and a couple other people that I've spoken to, that when they get pulled over, or prior to them even getting pulled over, that it's something in the system that reads "do not pull over" or something like that. Can you explain that a little bit more?
A notice of estoppel. It's do not detain.
A notice of estoppel.
Yes. It's do
Okay.
not detain.
Notice of estoppel. Do not detain.
Mm-hmm.
What does that exactly mean, though? I mean,
You have to enforce
for go
constitutional
ahead.
rights. You have to enforce your constitutional rights as a state citizen, as someone who lives within the bounds of whatever state that may be. You send
And
that to
essentially,
send it to the Secretary of the State. You send it to your governor. You send it to the Chief Justice of your state. You send it to the Attorney General of your state. You send these people notice and let them know that you know who you are and you are correcting your status as a natural being because you are not dead at sea. Because we are constantly partaking in maritime admiralty law. And if you don't understand the knowledge or the rules of water and commerces, then you will never understand your day-to-day life that you take on when you're walking around in this commerce world. When you walk out your door, you're partaking in commerces whether you want to or not. Once you get on their roads, it's game on.
hmm. No, I mean, sister, is deep. I mean,
It is.
I mean, just
Like I said,
I'm
I've
just thinking.
2009 I've been on this road, so it flows like water from me because I live it. I am this. I know no other way to be. I've done it so much that it's habit now. I Everything flows from me because I know this.
So, take for instance the do not detain when it comes to being put over by the police.
Mhm.
Do you have already curated letters to assist people in this journey?
I have, but I try not to because I don't need people dependent on me to do their work. Because
Okay.
the more you dive into this, your constitution, and you comprehend it, you'll be able to utilize it when you need to. Versus you getting a documentation from me and sending it in, and you don't comprehend nothing that's taking place in that document. So when they try you to see just how much you don't know shit. They're gonna lock you up, and they're definitely not. They're definitely gonna let you sit there for a while because you tried to fraud them. You tried to get them when that's not how their system is set up. Their system is set up to trap you, not for you to free yourself. But once you get a taste of freedom and you try to show them up one, they're going to test your skills. And if you don't pass the test, then you don't pass go. You go straight to jail. Like that's how it really works. This is the monopoly.
Now I know you were talking about some books earlier, the Redemption series, 1 through 5. Could that assist them in understanding um, what's actually going on and how they can protect themselves using the law?
No, that's just a lot of documentation for the United States to keep you bound to their system. I found that I
Mm.
started to fill out a lot of them. So that's why it's a lot of trial and error when it comes to doing this whole thing of figuring out what's going on or figuring out your place in the world and claiming what you know or what you believe to be yours. Like the descendants of so-called slaves. I'm not knocking anybody that's family been telling them for years and centuries that they slaves and they came over here on a ship. By all means, if that's the ideology you want to choose to take on, that I do not argue with that. That is a belief that is very much instilled in you. It's even in your it's embedded in your DNA. But my people have always told me we were born, we didn't never come here. We was already here. And in that I was able to
Yeah.
claim my family's land back because I proved that my people's always been here and everybody else has the same opportunity because I'm just going to say this. Out of all the so-called racist people in the world, especially in America that we think are racist, you mean to tell me not one grandson of a slave owner has the slave ship that his granddad brought some niggas over here on so he could always show his buddies that my great 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 grandfather brought some niggas over here? Like really? You telling me that?
Uh,
Not one ship? Not one. I don't believe it.
now, and I will say this: I've had this conversation plenty of times where we are always stating that we are American descendants of slaves and that our ancestors were brought over here in slave ships. But then there's a counter argument that anytime you ask somebody their lineage and what did your mom, your grandfather, your grandmother, your great grandfather ever said, it's always relating back to being an American Indian of sorts or an indigenous aboriginal person of this land. So I guess the fallacy of us being descendants of slaves, for those who are doing the research and history, it's a lie. I mean, it's perfidious at best. They're stating that if you are not from this land, essentially you can't claim it. Is that where you're essentially leading to?
It's not that you can't claim it, is you can't control it. Because the whole system is set up for you to control everything and own nothing. Why would you want to own something so
Control everything and own nothing.
yeah. Why would you want to own anything so when you die, other people have to worry about splitting it up, figure out who gets what? Why would you want to cause that much conflict in your family? So why would you just create a trust and everything's owned by the trust and you bond that trust and you put all of your assets, your businesses, and anything else that you move or see as collateral or security agreements into that trust. And that stays there because it'll be a revocable, irrevocable based on how you want the terms to be for your family. White people do it all the time. That's why family stuff get passed down to generation. And no
Because they
one,
hold it in a trust.
yes,
You can actually put your LLC and S corporation in the trust. Is that correct?
that is correct. And you can pay
So
your employee and it'll be tax exempt.
repeat that one more time.
And you can pay yourself as an employee and be tax exempt. And you get you don't have to worry about the liabilities. That's why Donald Trump can have the Taj Mahal, Trump Towers, and many, many other things, and he only pays $750 in taxes.
And this is why I probably get six. Never mind. That's my personal business. But so if I and viewers were to book a session with you, because I know people are very interested. What are some of the services that you personally provide to assist people when it comes with obligations, loans, with credit, and essentially getting out under a financial obligation?
If you haven't already gotten a verification letter for your debt, I would advise you to do that when it
A
comes to,
verification letter. What's the
yeah,
verification letter of my debt? Like, I went out and got a car, right? And I signed a bunch of paperwork. They said, hey, it's yours, or essentially you'll be paying the bank, but from the car dealership, as far as they know, it's yours, but you still owe the bank money. I receive statements saying that, hey, this how much you paid the car for, this how many payments you paid on the car, this how much you owe. Is that a verification statement?
that would be a part of the verification statement because the verification would come from anybody listed on your credit report. Third party debt collectors, credit card companies, inquiries. You would ask them for verification of the debt. And there's 5 forms of information they're supposed to send you. And then them sending you that's when you start to put them in violation because majority of the stuff they got on there, they didn't get it from you. They got it from a third party, and that's against the law. That's a violation of Title 15 U.S. Code 1692.
Excuse me as I write. Now, this is interesting because it's almost frustrating that people are paying tens of thousands of dollars to things they shouldn't be paying, correct?
Facts.
A lot of people are going to be deterred to do these things themselves. So take for instance, I'm paying a mortgage, or yeah, I'm paying a mortgage because that's the most,
No,
main thing.
don't
And
do don't do it. Challenge them. Don't keep giving in every month. Challenge them. Challenge to prove to me who is the counterpart that signed that signed this mortgage with me that I actually owe this money to. Who do you owe the money to? Because on the contract it's just you. You the only one signed. So you're the only one tied to that agreement. That's not how a contract works. It has to have 2 parties. So with that, that contract is null and void. Correct?
let's take for instance that on the document, Bank USA signed it.
There's no person that can sign for Bank USA. Bank USA is a corporation. A natural person has to sign for a natural person. You see the
So I
difference?
have to actually owe a person and not an organization.
Exactly. Because an organization can't, because you're the original creditor. Only a living being can be a creditor.
And that's under one of the titles that you spoke before. I believe it's Title 12, correct?
Yes.
Wow. So again, I want to kind of bottle down here. If I come to you and I say, okay, Satori, what are some of the services that you can offer me, because I have these three things going on. I'm going through litigation with a creditor. They're trying to sue me and essentially incarcerate me, taking me to court to get this money out of me and not allowing me to charge it off in any sort. What are some of the services or things you inform people, rather, to not be obligated for that financial quote unquote contract?
It depends on the wording of the contract. We would have to go over looking over the contract. But I don't offer services. The only service I offer is a one-on-one for me to explain to you or show you how to get to your own resorts or your own results. Because this is I don't want anybody to depend on me. You know what I mean? Because if you get
I
one
understand.
you get one thing off their credit report, they're gonna be like, oh man, I can go back to her. I'll pay that $20 for that template, or I'll pay that $30 for that template. I don't want people dependent. I need you to learn how to do this for yourself so that these people can't continue to do this to you. Because if you keep going to people trying to get them to do the remedies for you, you're never going to learn it for yourself to be able to live it. You're going to constantly be seeking somebody else to give your hard-earned money to for them to create the space that you need to live within.
Okay, I guess a better question would be, do you direct people
I do.
to the okay, you direct people to the laws and how to utilize the law in different facets?
Yes, and I tell them the link. I tell them why they use certain legalese within the bounds of those contracts or those violation forms that they would send off. I tell them the purpose behind doing this. I tell them the purpose behind getting those violations sent out and sending them bill of particulars, which a bill of particulars is nothing more than an invoice. You are the original creditor. You want to give them an invoice so they see how they have impacted your business.
Wow. Now I recall going to your website, um, and I'm just going to show people if you don't mind. I remember going to your website and inquiring someone else that needed some help, and they said at the time, let me just show this very quickly. At the time, your consultation was $180. Now it's $250. Now, with this amount, whether it be you're doing a discount at a current time or not, how much time do I have with Satori to pick her brain, for her to assist me with documentations, letters? How much time would I have with you for the amount that you have in your sessions?
It says 30 minutes, but my sessions always last 45 minutes to almost an hour and a half. It just depends on the needs of the person. I just want you to pay to see if you're really serious about my time, because a lot of people waste my time.
Mm. What do you mean they waste your time?
I've had people that have called me to ask me about some things, and when I gave them the information, they text my phone 2 days later and ask me to repeat it. I don't have time for that.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely, for the viewers here on my financial channel. In the back channel, of course, I'm gonna try to negotiate with Satori. Let me tell you something. Her time. No, and I'm being serious, and you don't have to do this, sister. I'm not trying to put any pressure on you of any sort, but I just want to make people very aware that when I go over my budget each and every month, I see the amount of money that I pay on things. Right, like today, me and my wife and a couple that's in town, we went to the Movado store. We went to some perfume store, and we're spending hundreds of dollars, right, on just materialistic things. And we need to understand that knowledge and information is the most powerful thing in this corporation that we need to have. So I'm not trying to deter anyone from the amount that she's showing on her website, which is divinealignment.org. Let me tell you, it's worth your money. If you're going through any coercion with your job, dealing with the jab and them laying you off, or you getting fired, pressured, coerced, tricked, manipulated, any sort of way, book a session. If you're having dealings with your credit and they're trying to take you through litigation or probate, going through court and trying to sue you, book a session. And I'm not trying to blow her in a way, is that she has done the information. She's been dealing with legalese and understanding the law since 2009. And believe me, just like anything else, this may be, and I believe is much, much cheaper than a lawyer, because a lot of times lawyers don't help you because they are what? Officers of the court. They essentially are in pocket. They're in companionship with the court in order to bank more money. So what is your take on lawyers, Satori, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, those poor guys. They want to be the good guys, but they get caught up, just like police officers and governors and everybody else that try to take on roles when it comes to the government. I don't trust lawyers because their job is to deceive you, and their job is to make sure the money stays flowing within the currency of the system. That's why they have to pass the bar. And the bar is always that carpet in the courtroom. You know, you have the benches and you have that wood. And once you pass that wood, you get onto the carpet. You're now on their ship. You boarded their ship. There's a game now. You are out at sea, but on their ship. That means you're a lost mate if you don't know who you are and you're not standing on your square. Person like myself, I don't cross the wood. I stay on the wood. I stay on land because the wood represents land, trees, land. When you step on the carpet, that's unknown territory.
They can't force you to come forward.
No, they can't make you do anything. You are who you are. How can someone force you to do something with the body that you take care of, you manage, and you wake up?
Now for this broadcast, again, I'm gonna try to negotiate with Satori. I'm just gonna put this out
I
here.
my price
Go
is
ahead,
down
yes, sir.
1,000. Like
Huh?
I was charging $999 at one point because I only wanted people that were serious about things. Because like I said, I have people that would hear what I'd say and they see that I had $150 or $180 fee, and they pay it because they could afford it. And then they ask me all of these questions. And then, like I said, a few days or 2 weeks later, they'll ask me if I could tell them what's the next step. And I'm like, I told you all the steps that you needed to take when I spoke with you so that you could be able to handle your affairs. Like, I don't want to be that person that holds your hand, but I don't mind assisting. But if you call me for the same thing, that lets me know that you weren't really valuing the time, the money that you put in. People, the more money people spend, the more they listen. And I've learned that.
You are
If,
absolutely
if
correct.
I give you a service of me giving you my intellectual property, my knowledge, my awareness of a certain way of being and a way of getting and receiving, and you don't value it, you're not going to hear it the way it needs to be heard in order to actually do what needs to be done. Because it's easy for you to get, so you're just going to pay for another session. And I don't want, that's not the, I don't mind getting people's money, but it's not about the money to me. It's about making sure I'm giving the information to the right people. I have morals. Not everybody is meant to hear certain things, and not everybody is meant to do certain things.
So I want to circle back on one thing. We're about to wrap up here, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I'm on with Satori. In my opinion, she's an expert in legalese, and I think it's imperative that we take her information very, very seriously. And the one thing that she's always stood on her square about is the information that she's obtained over the course of time and understanding the law. And I know that this is not necessarily a popular video because a lot of times people want things easy, and that's what we're trying to take out, is that living living your life in this corporation is not an easy task. You have to understand how the corporation is ran. You have to understand the actual laws and titles and codes that operate with inside of the corporation, and knowing how to use that for your financial gain. Now, two things I want to circle back on. One is the actual currency of the United States corporation. What is the actual currency from what you know by law, Satori?
Coins.
What type of coins per se?
All coins. That's why they're having a coin shortage. Because we're buying all the people that know what's the real currency, we're buying all the coins.
And now I know Um, we've talked about the Coinage Act. Are you familiar with the Coinage Act?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Can you just briefly sum up what the Coinage Act is referring to?
Um, it's basically referring to the different ways and uses of currency in the form of metals. When it comes to the main currency of the United States and the let me see how to say it. When it comes to the legal money of America, it's
Uh-huh.
it's actually the silver dollar and the silver certificate, and that's still a silver dollar because a silver certificate is a dollar bill. That's the only real currency in America.
So I know we discussed prior of buying going on. I mean, my one of my favorite website is American Precious Metal Exchange. They also got what's the other, the Frankfurt Mint or the Franklin Mint, I believe,
Yes,
that you
and
can go and buy. Go
they
ahead.
have 20, like coin E with the Y, and then
Okay.
they have buy gold and silver, which is the BAG. I think it's BGASC. Buy gold and silver coins.com.
And do you buy silver certificate as well as silver coins
Every day.
every day?
I
Okay.
take monopoly money and I buy real money with it every day, which this is the coolest shit in the world. I wish more people were on this because the United States fiat is falling. This currency is going away. I don't know if you paid attention, but March of 2020, no, March 2021, excuse me. The FDIC stated that it is no longer insuring any money in any banks that is over $600. That's why Biden came out and said they're going to be watching any accounts under $600, that are over $600, because the FDIC is no longer insuring any accounts that are no any banks, and the bank only insures. Excuse me, I said that all wrong. Let me say this again.
Okay.
The FDIC and stated that they are no longer insuring banks. So none of the banks are insured. So if any account is over $600, is not insured by the bank, which is why Biden's administration said that they're going to be watching people's accounts that have more than $600 in them, because the money isn't insured. So once the collapse happens, once this so-called great reset occurs, the new Great Depression enacts, if you have over $600 in your bank account, you actually only have 600 because that's all that the bank is going to insure. Everything else is gone.
This was something that me and Arthur joked about because we're using fake money to buy real money, and you said it monopoly money to buy real money, because probably once every 3 months I do a video about going about buying silver and gold, but I lean towards silver because dealing with the Coinage Act, they state that essentially silver is the only real currency
Mm-hmm.
in these United States corporation. And I give the people the information, but a lot of times people they don't understand the value of precious metals, and that it's the only true currency that America actually deals in, and that we live in a system of fiat, and that essentially we're just
We're
going
living
back and go ahead.
we're living and partaking in a lie, and that lie is not holding up very well because it's about to fall.
Last but not least, one last question, and you can, of course, defer not to answer this, but just curious, and I know other people may be curious because I see some questions. Does Satori pay mortgage or car notes?
No, 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 because every time I went to a car dealership, I told them I pay my own tag fees and they'd give me the title to the car. I take my happy ass to the DMV, get that title put over into my name, put that bitch on the lien, and I put it under my UCC1, and I dare them to ask me for a payment. Bitch, I own that car. That car is under my trust. No.
I
Mm-mm.
think that's a. I mean, that was my last question, but I have one more. Um,
No,
Are
I
you
know
familiar?
what to do.
Go
I
ahead.
know the law.
How do you help people in understanding and how to go about building trust?
I do. First, you have to understand yourself first, because your trust is
Okay.
going to be based around what moves you make in life, what protection you need. Whether you have a house, you have a business, what type of business you have, if you do charity work or if you partake in charities, and if you want them to get certain benefits from your trust, if you have children, um, is built around different things. If you have land, how that land is going to be taken care of, the land survey, the longitude and latitude of the plot. Like, it's a lot that has to be entailed.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on with Satori, and her website is Divine Alignment, and Mint is spelled MINT.org. I'm pretty sure she designed it that way.
Yes.
I know you did. It's very smart. I get what you're getting at. And again, her website is divinealignment.org. And if you want to book a session with her, understand this will be a very serious session, but you will get the information that you need. And don't keep calling her and texting her once she gives you the information. That's
Stop.
why I'm here taking notes. That's why I'm here taking notes. And granted, Satori amounts are much more than my amounts, but I guarantee that you will not, in the long term, pay this corporation the amount of money they say that you owe them when you are the creditor and they are the debtors. But somehow this has been flipped, this has been tricked and pushed to the American people that we are highly in debt, not just ourselves, but the government itself. And this is the information that you would need to know in order to assist you, in order to assist you in your financial goals and being where you want to be, because you have rights. And that's the one thing that we're lacking. I tell people all day, Satori, I said, you need to read, but no one takes my information, but hopefully they will take your information, because I recall anytime that you and Arthur is holding a session on Clubhouse, I tell people the two books that kind of is helping me to understand the law a little bit better is the one you guys see here, which essentially is only $5. The UCC Connection: How to Free Yourself from Legal Tyranny. The book is, I think, only like 220 pages. It's a very easy reading, helps you to define certain things. Do you have some other books that people should obtain and start to read and understand?
Yes. I would say the first thing to get is a Black's Law Dictionary. The fourth
Black
edition,
Laws Dictionary.
yeah, fourth edition is free. It's the PDF is available on Google. So
Okay.
you can definitely get that. Right now, they're in the 11th edition, which is the digital age. I just got that book. It's ridiculous. Like, like Clubhouse is like apps like Clubhouse and Big O and OnlyFans and Patreon. Wow. When I say that, it don't matter what you put on those pages. Once you create those accounts, like, you've already given yourself to them. Because they own the site. So therefore they own all of the intellectual property that's posted within the bounds of their site.
Wow.
You're just a byproduct.
So people can get more of this information. Um, what are your days and times on Clubhouse, and what is the name of the room that you usually operate out of?
The club is Momentary University, which is a school that my nation is actually putting together to actually
Okay.
teach people the laws. But we're actually teaching we're teaching childrens and families. We want everyone to learn this together, so families can have a better bonding time. Like, me and my son and I, we come up with the curriculum because he's the one that wants to do this. Once he turned 11, I told him it was time for him to know how to, maneuver through this space, through this maritime admiralty existence. I taught him how to go about claiming his own birth certificate. I taught him.
About back up 1 second. About what about the birth certificate?
Yeah, I need he learned the reason for the birth certificate and everything, and I taught him how to get his birth certificate back. Put a bond on him, on himself, and put all of his things that he has, his four-wheelers and other things that he's purchased through him getting allowance on under his collateral for his UCC1. My children have trust already created. They have businesses.
You keep saying UCC1. What is UCC1?
Oh, UCC1 is a financing statement for your Secretary of the State for you to put all of your assets and collateral within them. That's how you create a lien. That's how you put a lien on your property, on your assets, on your collateral. That's also how you put them on notice, by putting a fee schedule and trademarking your name and creating a security agreement with all of your assets. And
You
then you
got to
put
be more careful, ladies and gentlemen. She is dropping some nuggets of information, and
it just comes from you. Ask me a question, I just speak. I tell no lies. I don't know.
I tell no lies, man. No, this is some really good information. That again, what was your clubhouse group name and the days and times that you go on?
The room is, or the club is, Momentary University, and myself, as well as a business partner that Ray was actually speaking on, which is author. We actually host a room every Thursday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, up until like, this past Thursday. We were on there to like 4 o'clock in the morning.
So
We
Tori, you're
answer
breaking up.
questions.
I don't know if you can hear me, Satori, but since you gave the name of the room, everything was kind of like robotic. If you can repeat that one more time.
Is this better?
Try again. Yeah, I can hear you
Is this
clearly.
better?
Go ahead. Yes, it is. Go ahead.
Um, yes, is the name of the club on Clubhouse is Momentary University.
Momentarily University.
We host a room. Yes, momentarian, like moment, and like vegetarian, like it's
Oh,
momentarian.
momentarian.
Um, yes, like a momentarian. Like instead of a vegetarian, I'm a momentarian.
I understand. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's Momentary University, and we host a room discussing a lot of different. We just discussed all different types of topics. Last week we spoke on USC codes and the difference between USC codes and policy and mandates, as well as we told everybody to purchase a 19. I think we said a 1950, at least a 1957 Walking Liberty, and keep that on your person. The Walking Liberty represents you, because the Statue of Liberty actually represents the people, and you're standing still. She's standing still in New York because the harbor everything comes to her, because she's the creditor, she's the consumer. That's why she's in New York, where everything happens. Every all movement comes to the shores of New York. But the Walking Liberty is showing that you are walking in your liberty. That means you are freely walking. You are a free man. You are a free woman. You are a natural person with natural rights. And that's basically what that coin represents. So it's actually against the law for any officer or any police department to arrest you or remove your coin from your person. So if they remove you from your coin, which is your real money, that is a $10,000 violation just from them touching your precious coin. I myself, an author, I have a necklace where I have a bezel that I wear around my neck with my Walking Liberty, and I've had so many old white men walking me like, "What is that? A Walking Liberty?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They was like, "Oh, you're a special one," and I'm like, "Yeah, right? Keep it moving, old ass. Keep it going." But 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 they know what these things mean, because he pulled his out of his wallet. He said, "I never leave home without it." And I was like, "Neither do I." He was like, "But he said, you let them know, aren't you? You just got it around your neck. You're showing it proudly." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Now dare somebody try to snatch it off my neck. That'll probably be the last time that they hands move, because I I know how to protect myself, and everybody else should know how to do those things too. And if you have a wife or a daughter, you definitely need to be signing them up for taekwondo or jiu-jitsu or any type of
Definitely.
arts to protect themselves, because women children are getting missing every day because our organs are worth a lot of money. Melanin is on the black market for what, $900 a gram, and they just said that they can put over 16,000 terabytes of information in one drop of blood. So
Over in Switzerland, they're chipping their citizens now. Right now is voluntary. and I did a video on this as well. They're chipping their citizens, and they are allowing them to use the chips inside of their bodies to open doors, make financial transactions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, I'm against that totally, because now if you have a chip inside your body and the chip is patent and you're patent and you got the jab, and it's a lot. We will have to be on here all night to discuss all this. Satori, you'll definitely operate in a different universe that people need to be aware of the information that's inside of your head that you've obtained. Because, I mean, I got a full page of notes here that I don't even understand anymore. That, you know, we all need a guidance counselor, right? A spiritual counselor to help us to navigate and understand how to use these things to our benefit. Because I've said this 20 minutes ago. This is my last question. You stated you go to the dealership and you find a car that you like. What was your next steps from that? I'm just saying. I'm not writing it down. I got my pen right here. I'm not writing it down. I just want to
$1 worth of information here.
Okay.
You actually can look. Okay. When I use a consumer credit transaction. So I use my credit card, like a Capital One, American Express, whatever, Barclays, whatever I have, and whatever the limit is on that card, hopefully it's over $2,000 if they ask me for a down payment of $2,000. But I've never been asked for a down payment because I don't have those credit issues. I knew how to fix my credit. But I would always ask for a consumer credit transaction, and I would use my credit to make any type of payments that need to be paid. But as soon as I leave that dealership, I go straight to the DMV. And I go straight to the DMV to get my name on that title, to get a new title printed with my name on it that same day. So when they reach out to me in 30 days about a payment and about the title, no, you're harassing me, sir. Like, I own that vehicle. I've already put a lien on it. It's in my trust and it's bonded by my trust. So you can't get
so you don't actually put it in your name.
No, I put it in. It goes in my name when I'm at the dealership, but then I transfer it over to my trust through my UCC1 or my UCC3 because it's a revision. Yep. Put $1 million lien on it through the UCC1. If they want to get that vehicle, I pay that lien off first.
Well, my mind is blown, and I just want to.
Why would you want to?
No.
You just paid.
Go ahead.
If I just paid for a car, why am I send them the title to the car that I just paid for?
Again, that unpacks a lot of questions. So people like, oh man, you just went in there and did a zero down payment because of your credit, and then you went to the DMV and transferred over the title into your name and put a lien on it, and then transferred that into your trust using UCC 1 and 3. People are like, hold up, you didn't pay for anything. That's the question that people may have.
Exactly. And they can't steal the car because it's already bonded and it's under trust and it's already seen as a response. I got my name on the title.
I think people will be now trying to book a session for that one thing. No, I'm serious. Like, I know you want people to learn the information for themselves, right? But Satori, please, if people contacting you using Ross World, please just walk them through the car thing. Just please tell them what they need to do.
Ross, I would definitely
because my subscribers, they're very serious people and they want to know this information. And going back from 2009 till a day, I think if they see this actually happen with getting a session with you and utilizing that, that's going to spur and spark them to go out and get the information. But again, I think you have a wealth of knowledge that a lot of us need to essentially kind of see some results before we go full head and like, oh, it's a nothing burger. Like nothing is occurring from this, even though I know this to be true. But I think that is important because the information you provided here today was probably worth $500, or let's just say even more than that. And of course, the reason why I asked you to report a couple of things so people could write them down, because I mean, me personally, like I said, I've been writing stuff down. I've been writing my notes, all type of titles and codes, Title 12, 15, 1831, Title 12 promissory note, Title 15 deals with commerce. I mean, I'm writing these things down. Do not detain when it comes to police officers pulling you over. If they pull you over using their lights for emergency and it's not emergency, no harm, or no one was essentially injured, that's against the law. Anyone below a sergeant, is essentially not considered an officer because they're representing the court, so they're not an officer because sergeants actually take a different test. There's a lot of information that we spoke about in the past that, if you don't mind, can you please come back on? Can we please schedule another where we kind of map out some things? And again, for you guys who've joined in late, this is Satori's website. It's called divinealignment.org. And she has one session. Okay. You book it, you get the information, you live a better life. It's simple as that. Satori, do you have any other comments or information that you would like to provide?
This is the Great Awakening. I don't know if anybody in here is religious. I'm not religious by any means, but I did partake in many, many different forms of religion. It's time for us to truly know ourselves and know how to govern ourselves, because it's getting to a time where the government is falling. They can't even support themselves because their time is up. I don't know if anybody know about Sir Gibbs and the fall of empires, but an empire only lasts 250 years from what history has shown. Britain started theirs in what, 1776?
Yep.
So that means the fall of America is supposed to be 2026.
And that's why a lot of people are saying that a lot of things are going to start to occur in 2025.
Yes.
So there's been some tall tale signs, even with the things that you see today. So that's absolutely correct. We have one comment before we end here. So Jermaine Anderson is stating, he says, so the 401k is no good to put money into anymore, or can you buy gold and silver with it?
Buy gold and silver with it. It's still valuable if you choose for it to still be valuable. It basically depends upon how you have it structured with whatever business or corporation or company that you have your 401k set up. But if you can pull from it and get equity from it and utilize some funds from it, I would advise you to buy as much silver as you can at this very, very moment. Everybody's getting into crypto when the system falls off, when we have the EMF, because it's going to happen. They've already planned it. Those who are in the know, the United Nations warns us of certain things. They warned all of the Cherokee nations and any other indigenous tribes of certain crops not being cultivated coming very, very soon for this winter. And they've warned us, and they've sent us money for us to go ahead and prepare and buy whatever we need to buy in bulks so that we are fully prepared. But they're not caring about the public because they don't have a treaty with you all. Because if you're considering yourself a U.S. citizen, you're domestic property. So they can do whatever they want to do to you, and they're going to starve you out because they want you to be a part. Babylon is falling, and I promise you, she's taking as many people as she can with her, and you don't want to be in that number because it won't be pretty. The only reason why Revelations exists in the back at the end of the Bible is because they wanted to they wanted a certain prophecy to be lived out before they gave up their kingdom, before they gave up their reign. The Bible is only as popular as it is because so many people believe in it. If we all stop believing in certain things, it wouldn't give life. That's why the Bible, if a house burns down, the Bible is the only book or the only thing in that house that will not burn, because it's a living book. It is alive because so many people believe in it. So many people know of it.
I totally understand. So as I'm ending here, I'm showing, is this the actual one of the silver certificates that people can use to start, essentially buying with their fake money?
No,
Is this is not the right one?
you can purchase that for to have as a, I don't know, like I have those type of dollars just to keep as memorabilia. I don't look to try to sell those or use those because it doesn't have the seal on the back. But you
Okay.
mainly want the 1957.
Okay, I did see a 1957 on here. This one right here says 1957. And let me see if they have the back of it, but they don't have any of the seals on them.
The seal is right there. That's the seal. That's the same seal. No, right there on the back where you see the eagle.
Yeah, I'm trying to click on it. It won't. Here we go. Look how it keep changing. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't want you to see because they know what we're talking about.
That's the issue right there. Look, it won't do it. But this is the one that people need to start accumulating, correct?
Yes, because it has a seal on that, just like the $1 bill that's in currency now. Because if I joke with Arthur all the time, and I tell him, I was like, the only people out here getting real money, getting the real money, is strippers, because everybody pays strippers in $1 bill. As you can tell, I'm so serious, because if you know, the $1 bill is the only currency, the only
Oh
denomination of bill. The $1 bill is the only denomination of bill that has never changed. The $5 bill now has rainbow colors. The $10 bill is rainbow colors. The $20 bill and the $100 bill now has those little plastic strips on it. Everything has changed its style except for the $1 bill. That's still the original dollar. That is the real money. That's the only real money. It's the dollar.
What I love about APMX, American Purchase Metal Exchange, is that you can use your fake computer money, crypto, to go in
Yeah,
here
I love
and
it.
buy
I
real
love it.
money.
That's the whole reason for the monopoly, to get their
So,
money to buy property, to buy real property, to buy real assets. That was the whole reason for monopoly. That was the whole purpose of the game.
and I just want to see if I can click this. Okay, here we go. So this is important, ladies and gentlemen, because this is not a regular $1 bill that you're paying for $10. What you see here is what she's stating that first and foremost, it looks like a dollar bill, but as you scan over it, it's actually a silver certificate. And I know me personally, I have a lot of silver coins, and I started to buy these right here. It says $1 is silver payable to the bearer on demand. This is the actual currency of the United States of America that a lot of people are not understanding. And this is what she's getting at. So again, Satori, I just want to thank you for your time, sister. I know we're going over a little bit here, but if you don't mind, can you please come back on and let's do a session? And we might just we're going to take one of these subjects and we're just going to hammer on it and get the information. Again, her website is Divine Alignment, and Mint is mint.org, where you can book a session with her to get. And I would definitely say use your time wisely. Okay, use your time wisely. Just have one thing that you actually want the information, so you can take plenty of notes. She may also have some additional documents for you that could assist you in whatever financial transaction you're trying to make. But again, Satori, I want to thank you, sister. And she also holds a session every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Is it Eastern time? 7 p.m. Eastern?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, 7 p.m. Eastern time on Monetarium. And what's that last word again?
Momentarian University room on
Monetarium
it's
University
on Clubhouse. Yes.
on Clubhouse. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our time for this evening. Again, I just want to flash this up here so you know what it looks like. Her website again, and that is Divine Alignment, Mind, Body, and Source, divinealignment.org. Okay. So again, thank you, sister. I do appreciate your time. I cannot thank you enough. If you would just stand by as I'm closing down here, we're going to end this. And ladies and gentlemen, again, for all the questions that you have, we answered a lot here. But again, if you have any additional questions, believe me, your time, her time is worth the amount of money that she's showing on her website. This is Financial Literacy 101. Learn money and be inspired. You guys have a great and wonderful evening. I'll see you guys on the next one. You guys have a great and wonderful night, and I'm out.